Welcome to Tao of the Day, everybody. I am just got off with Julie and decided that I would just do Tao of the Day right now. I was just gonna start at 6, but I just ran into Julie and then we just chatted there. Here we are, Tao of the Day. So, what is Tao of the Day? I ask you to step up and pick a number between 1 and 81. I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81 because the Tao Te Ching is at the base, is at the core of everything that's Tao of the Day. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text and it's full of all of this wisdom and insight on how to live a more harmonious life and balance with Tao, or the underlying nature of the order of the universe, right? And so, like, what we look at in Tao of the Day is we look at what the Tao has to offer in terms of living a life that is what I consider more reasonable. What does it mean to be reasonable and live a reasonable life? Well, if you want others to do things that you want them to do, you're not being reasonable. If you are able to live your life and allow others to live their life as they want and choose their life as they want to live it, well, then you're living a more reasonable life than trying to get people to change. Because if you want people to change, you're going to want them to change forever. If they change a little for you, well, then you're going to want them to change more. And there's going to be no end to your wanting the world to be the way you want it to be. And so, what we look at when we look at the Tao is how can you live in a way that's reasonable? And the Tao is the underlying nature of it. It's just like the substrate of all things. The Tao is within you, whether you recognize it or not. You are Tao, whether you recognize it or not. I remember the first time Andy Scarantino came up and asked me about the Tao. She had said, I'm not an expert. And I was like, yes, you are. You are Tao. And we all have to understand that we are Tao. And we are the nature of the universe, and it is natural for us to be here even if we are selfish and unconnected to Tao. We still are Tao, and we're still acting in a way that is bringing us closer to Tao. That is something that we can't escape. And so here on Tao of the Day, what I do is I invite you up to pick a number between 1 and 81, because there are 81 short verses that consist of the Tao Te Ching, that is, or the canon of reason. I like to translate that as. Um, and it's poetic and it's beautiful, and it has all of these ways of going through it. And so, what I do is I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81. We chat. I give you the verse. You give me what it is you think the verse is saying to you. And then we break it down section by section or line by line, depending on how deeply we have to look at it. Now, what I've been doing is reading my translation, and I shouldn't call it a translation. I like calling it a rendition of the Tao. I looked at 6 different translations of the Tao, and I don't know if there are people that have, like, Lin Yu Tang is a translation from the original text. Lin Yu Tang is a translator and translated the Tao directly from the original text. Now, the texts, the other translations that I had looked at was James Legg, English, Isabel Mears, Frank Mahovic, Brian Donahue, and Stephen Mitchell. I looked at all of those translations and made up what I felt was the kind of modern understanding from where we are today, because our consciousness is constantly evolving, so and it's doing so in such a rapid rate. And I think that Stephen Mitchell really wrote the last major translation, but that was done in the late 80s, early 90s, and so we do need a new translation here 30 years on, and hopefully what I have created is that translation. And in order to kind of put it up against the final litmus test, that's when I looked at Lin Yu Tang, who can read the original text. And so because I would translate them all and then look at Lin Yutang. Like after that, I would look and I would say, is this right compared to what is being written by someone who can read the actual text? And then I'm saying, oh, do I have something wrong? Because if I have something wrong, then I have to be able to change that. And that's how I went about writing my rendition of the Tao. And that's what I'm here to present you. Of course, I do have access to the other translations as well and can read any translation if you have a request for a specific translation. So if you have a book that you're looking at and you want to read that certain book, I would be happy to read along with you and we could do that. But as this is, the Tao of the day, and Tao of the day is my work, as far as that goes, my is not coming from me, but it's working through me, is what I like to present. So if you have a number between 1 and 81, please step up and we can pick a number and look at what we have going on for you. I'm going to choose number 70 today. I'm taking a note really quick so I remember where to go, just in case someone joins me and we go to another number. So, number 70, I titled These Teachings. These teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their heart shines a light for all things. So, what I understand this to be saying is that, look, this is really complicated stuff and it's really deep. And no matter how much you want to try to quote unquote understand what's here, you're not going to be able to do that. And that's going to probably force your intellect into wanting to know even more and wanting to understand even more, it being just out of grasp. And that's going to make you run and push and try and get yourself to grasp it. But it's going to be very hard for you to do that because it's not graspable. And then those who can grasp it are going to be seen as uncaring and outside and selfish and all of these things. And why are they going to be considered that? They're going to be considered that because they actually do understand the depth of things. When we talk about Tao, we always talk about the long game. Manifestation is the short game. You want to manifest some stuff? Go right ahead. You can go ahead. You can manifest cars and boats and houses and money and all that stuff, and you will be, in this manifestation playing the short game. And every week you're going to be able to manifest something else, and every week you're going to want something else, and you're going to constantly get all of those things, and yet you will still find yourself lacking. Why? Simply because you want to manifest. Wanting to manifest means focusing on the fact that you don't have. And that's what's going on here. These teachings are saying, hey, you have, but the moment you think you don't, or the moment you try to look, it's gone. The moment you try to see what you have, the moment you try to count what you have, it's gone. So just sit back. Don't care whether it comes or goes. I find myself oftentimes, like when I find myself in a relationship and stuff, it's oftentimes people are like, you're uncaring. No, it's not that I'm uncaring. Whether or not this relationship continues, whether or not this, this moment is good or bad, doesn't matter. What matters is where I am now, and that I am opening up to where I am going. So I'm going to go through this number 70 as we as we lay this out. These teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. Here's the thing. When we look out at coaches and transformational coaches, life coaches, like all of these fucking people who want you to, live your life better, they are coming from the place of intellect. I don't know anybody really that's not coming from the place of intellect, right? When I help people like recover themselves, like I do start from a place of intellect, but I start from a place of intellect so that there can be grasping of self, and that ultimately the intellect gets put aside. And that's the goal. The goal is always that the intellect gets put aside, because your intellect is just what you can grasp now. And it's not the end all be all of who you are. And it's not going to really serve you in the long game. Intellect will serve you in the short game. You'll answer questions and stuff. But these teachings that are in the Tao Te Ching are simple and yet transform lives deeply. Yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. The more intellect you put towards trying to understand Tao, the more lost you become. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Here's the thing. When I talk about like benefiting, it's like when I tell clients and other people, like, look, you need to be selfish. You need to love yourself more than everything else, right? You need to love yourself. And this is, as it comes into relationships and stuff, like you need to be able to embrace the idea that this is going to end. It's okay that it's going to end. And it's going to benefit all parties that it ends, if in fact it does, and it will at some point. So all of that has to be understood. These teachings that are here in the Tao Te Ching are older than life. Like it is in the very nature of things. It's in the nature of a stone. It is in the nature of space to yield. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Most people prefer to be in a space where they see the results of their actions. They say, I want to get a job. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Da, 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 da. But it's like, did you ask where your desire to want a job came from in the first place? Because that is a weird thing to do, right? To want money and to want all these things that really have not been around very long. Right? Money hasn't been around very long. Like education hasn't been around very long. Grading hasn't been around very long. All of these things are, like not even, um, like they're not even like 5,000 years old, you know? And life and what is being taught, like what is being taught in the Tao, right? This is the Tao was written 3,000 years ago. And it is still around, kind of talking about, and it is reaching back thousands of years and saying, look, these teachings are older than life and benefit all things. Yet people prefer the manifestation. And people prefer the manifestation because they are in touch with the the ego and the wanting. I'm going to have Amy join me. I'm going to step away from 70 if I need to so that Amy can pick a number.
How are you?
I am well. How are you, dear?
I'm doing really, really good. I get my teeth today.
Do you?
I do.
Are you
And
getting a full set or are you getting a partial?
I need all of them.
Okay.
And I wanted them for my Christmas with my girls. This
Yeah.
is in 2 days. So
Oh, you're
I
gonna have them.
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I know. I'm so you know how when you get really excited you get butterflies in your stomach?
Yeah.
I call that the universe is tickling me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is great. And my number is 6.
6.
It's my favorite number.
Okay, 6 is the great feminine. Um, Everything is born from the feminine, even heaven and earth. The feminine that births is a mother. She nourishes as a, she nourishes and supports without possessing. Despite your awareness of it, you're using it right now. Thoughts?
It's absolutely true. Although it seems lately I am more aware of what the earth is providing me and what the universe is providing me. This year, I'm acutely aware of what I have that I have not had in the past.
Yeah. I
Um,
think I think we're going through a time right now, which is very much one of deep awareness, and one that is we're coming into a time where we're understanding the depth of what we are and who we are.
that sounds exactly right.
Yeah.
And when I tie in there my sobriety,
Mm.
it I guess like I knew I was alone and I felt lonely and all that. But until I have all the things that I have now, I didn't realize how much I was missing out on.
By being alone.
Um no, by being sober actually.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
I didn't know the relationship that I could have with my girls. I didn't know that I could love myself and that would be enough, that, I don't need somebody to love me. I love myself and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I could be alone without feeling lonely, that I never thought I would have my own apartment, like,
Yeah.
ever. All the family and support that I have in this community,
Hmm.
and I certainly didn't know that I could give back to people. Like, I thought at the time, looking back, probably not so much, help people through hard times with what they were going through in the moment.
Right.
But I never realized that I could help so many people by telling my story and showing them by example that, things don't have to be the way that they are. You can't change things.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
forgiveness is a big thing. I always thought that surrender meant giving up. And I thought forgiveness was like telling them, it's okay what you've done. I still love you. And no, it's not that at all. Forgiveness is definitely for myself. It's
Hmm.
exhausting to carry anger and trauma and all that for so many years. It's just exhausting. And there's nothing that I could do about it but let it go. But I didn't know how to do that.
There's an interesting line in here, right? Like everything is born from the feminine, even heaven and earth. So all of your experiences are born from the ability to receive, right? So when we
Hmm.
when we look at the feminine, right, and when we look at the feminine, we look at the ability to receive, right? That which is receptive is feminine, right? And it's not woman, right? It is. I mean, we
Right.
look at the feminine as being able to receive the masculine, and that like that. I mean, we can look at like the penis and the fucking vagina, but we can also look at just like nature of things is like there is space in the feminine, and in that space you can put all sorts of things. right?
Correct.
And then the feminine that births is a mother, right? So any feminine energy that gives birth to any sort of space is a mother, and she nourishes and supports without possessing. And here it is, you have had in your life a number of experiences that for a long time you possessed, you held on to, you received those experiences, and you birthed that trauma, and you held on to that trauma, but you were possessing those things,
Mhm.
but being a good mother doesn't possess her children. So like just because you somehow birthed these experiences, and you can be a victim to that, and then possess that, and hold on to it, and not take on the role that you held as a mother. Like I picked number 70 today. Was that? No. I'm wondering. I read one earlier. I don't know, maybe it was earlier in the week, where I was talking about like the mother and owning. I forget which one that is, but yeah, I was talking about this kind of idea before. The feminine that births is a mother. She nourishes and supports without possessing. You can nourish all of your experiences and support the experiences that you've had, even though they've been traumatic, because they are your experiences, and you can love them even. But the more you try to possess them, the more you try to control what they feel like, and what they do, and what they do to you.
Yeah, I'm nodding my head so hard over here, like you can see me.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
not
you're wording it
without
absolutely perfectly.
but when you can let go of the possessing of those experiences, they can just be the experiences that were birthed, right? Everything is born from the feminine, even heaven and earth. So even all of these traumatic experiences that you've had, that have led you down a path to close off, to be afraid, to protect yourself from all of the things that might ever turn out to be something more traumatic. Like you can possess, you don't have to possess that. You can just let it slough off. And the way this verse ends is really interesting, because it says, despite your awareness of it, you're using it right now. And here's the thing: when you were in your real low points, and you had no awareness of your possession, and your inability to let go, or your inability to trust, or all that, you had no awareness of that. So
Mhm.
despite your awareness of it, you're still using Tao. You're
Yeah,
still
I was absolutely drowning in it.
Yeah. And it was responding by giving you all of that. We can look at this as like, we can look at this verse, very much like law of attraction, right? Like when you focus on trauma, what do you think you're going to get?
A lot of heartache and confusion and
More trauma, right?
yeah.
Everything is born from the feminine, even heaven and earth. And the feminine that births is a mother. She nourishes and supports without possessing. And that's the thing. She doesn't possess you.
Do you want to hear what I wrote the other day that
Please.
I described as like the darkest before the dawn?
Yeah.
A friend of mine is going through divorce and she's not dealing with it very well at all. So she said that my miracle, of coming back to life and all that, it keeps her inspired. So I wrote to her, I understand. It's absolutely true that it is darkest before the dawn. For me, I think it slowly kept getting darker and darker until I just felt lost and falling into an abyss.
Hmm.
But when I stopped trying to grab at everything to stop my fall, I realized I wasn't falling, I was floating. And I realized I wasn't in the dark at all. I had my eyes shut. I had always thought that surrender meant giving up. That is not what it means at all. For me, it meant letting go of the things that I couldn't control or wasn't my place to control anyway. My life is most definitely a miracle. My non damaged brain, a miracle. My body is also a miracle. My spirit, a miracle. My organs still work. It's a miracle. As is my heart that holds such deep love, light, and empathy. I feel your heartache and it hurts me. I'm sending light, love, peace, and positive vibes your way.
Mm.
I hope you always feel your guardian angels with you. You are never alone. And that is how far I've come. But somehow, the word but probably shouldn't have been put there, but um, helping people through when they really just can't seem to make sense of anything of what's going on. I find that I'm helping people find their way out of the dark like that. And it's
Let me
incredible.
let me help you rephrase that a little bit,
Thank you.
because you're not helping people. People are being helped. Okay, there's a difference there, because remember, just like this number six states, you don't possess it. Okay,
Uh
the
huh.
feminine that births is a mother. She nourishes and supports without possessing. When you do the action of helping others, that trying to possess that help, trying to possess that role of the one who helps, is is difficult, because if they fail, if they go off and commit suicide or do something that is irreversible,
Hmm.
you wouldn't want to take that on.
Well, it wouldn't be my fault.
Right. Just as they're getting themselves out of their hole is not your fault.
Yeah.
Right. And so they are being helped by helping themselves, because you present and you allow yourself to love yourself to the extent that you can speak, and that you trust your words, and that you trust yourself to be lived through, and they still have to receive that. And when they receive that, and so when you can nourish and support without possessing, then, because they're using Tao right now as well, even though they're not aware of it.
That makes perfect sense.
Right? And so as you present, you live through Tao, and when Tao lives through them and says, I need Amy to say this, and then you get out of your own way and just allow yourself to be you as Tao, then you are able to just be in that flow completely. And that allows them the opportunity to be helped, but they have to receive that. What you're doing is only natural because you are connected to Tao. All things are born from Tao, and this, and even your actions, and then their ability to pay attention to that. And that's what this is talking about.
Yes, that sounded much better than the way that I had it. I knew what I meant,
Of course,
but
if you want to come back up and land that, that'd be great. But I do want to say congratulations on being able to get your teeth, and to be able to have them in time for your Christmas. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you, Amy, and I am so happy from the first time we met. It's been beautiful, and I'm really glad that that you have opened up to be helped as well. 'Cause that's everything, right? So I'm gonna go back to number 70 and finish talking about this really briefly. So these teachings are simple and transform lives, right? Like, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. And that's the thing that Amy came on and really said, right? It was like when she stopped grasping at trying to do it, it just got done. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. That's the thing. When you are able to follow Tao, then you benefit others. Others get benefited, and everything around you gets benefited. Yet people prefer manifestation. They prefer to see and plan out and get the results from their actions. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein. Will truly ever really understand the Tao Te Ching and the Tao. But for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. You will find who you are by not being who you think you are. And that's the thing. Like, the the identities that we hold, the identity that Amy held when she was, constantly on this journey of possessing the trauma that she had that had occurred in her life. Like, she had to let go of that identity so that she can be who she was, who she is, and who she will be. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their hearts shine a light for all things. And that's what I always attempt to do. I don't care if I'm excited about going, like, doing some stupid thing, some thing like zip lining through a forest, or throwing an axe, or going to a sporting event or whatever. Yeah, okay, I can do those things maybe, but that's not what I want to be doing. I want to be sitting quietly and just observing and being who I am. And when I can do that, I'm much more able to let go of who I think I am and open myself up to who I actually am. And when I get to be selfish in that way, to be me in that way, then I will be a light for all things. And even though I'm not trying to be, though, that's the thing that I keep finding that I am. And I keep hearing people say that I am. And so that's great. I don't have to own that. I don't have to take any responsibility for that. Just like I was telling Amy a little bit ago. It's like, you don't want to be the one who helps. You want to be around people who are allowing themselves to be helped by everything and anything. It's not your responsibility if anything good or bad happens to them. It's not on you. It's them. I didn't do anything. You allowed yourself to be helped. And that's beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate your joining me for Tao of the Day once again. And I'm just yawning really quick. I appreciate you and all that you bring into my life. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me once again. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.